Sure. It goes back to last night. Russell Glasser had a debate with Matthew Powell on the Non Sequitur show. And I've noticed this trend, which I would call, and I think I've heard other people call it, lying for Christ. And I can't, it's hard to prove someone lied, but I kind of want to lay out what I saw and why I think it's lying, if you guys want to entertain that.
Okay. I haven't watched the debate yet. I worked last night.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a very, very, very small outline and what my experience with this has been, because I've experienced this too, where people kind of just witness to you or try to convince you of their religion, and they're not afraid to lie. And I'm pretty sure it's just straight out lies, because in the conversation, it was Dawkins' book that got brought up. I'm just trying to remember the name of it, The Blind Watchmaker. And in the book, Dawkins mentions the human eye, and I Googled it, well over 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
It's the main thesis of the book. And yes,
yeah.
you know. And
I love that book.
And so, yeah, and so this was brought up last night. It was a main point of the debate because Matthew Powell kept kind of quote mining the book. And what he did to quote mine was actually he was pretty much reading from a Frank Turek debate. And he even gets the page wrong and the quote wrong because Turek's kind of paraphrasing the quote when he mentions it in a debate. And Turek gets the page wrong. And then Matthew doesn't even know that the human eye is kind of the main thesis or one of the main focal points in the book about the complexity and how that complexity could arise. And so, you know, Russell kind of calls him out on this. And he's like, oh, well, I guess I didn't read it carefully. Yeah, I don't really read them carefully. Yeah, the book's at my parents' house. I just, you know, I guess I didn't read it carefully enough. I'll read it again. And one thing he said that really got to me, and this is where I bring it back to me and my experiences, is he said, well, we'll let the viewers decide. Well, I'll let the viewers decide. So rather than saying I was wrong, he's kind of saying to, you know, the Christian viewers, oh, hey, guys, go look this up, which probably they won't. And, you know, people who are not going to believe him are not going to believe him anyways. But I've been around and talked to many, many street preachers, and one of them had a sign that said, the Bible said that winds can go in a cyclone, but science believed that winds can only go straight. And I said to him, when did science say this? And he said, well, just Google it. And he couldn't even defend his own sign that was saying how science got it wrong and the Bible got it right. And so I think there's this whole kind of lying for Christ epidemic, and I don't know, that's my whole problem right now. I just wanted to kind of point this out.
Well, you know, I think that it is indicative of a larger issue where people want to be right, and so they'll hop into Google and try and find anything that'll prop up their view of things, and that's when they stop doing their research. And as much as I want to say that it's an epidemic just in the Christian end of things, I see it everywhere.
Yeah,
and I've seen other atheists do it. I've seen people do it about whatever the discussion is. They'll find a quote that sounds like it could be for them, and it doesn't matter how valid or what context it is in. You know, that's where you get people who are, you know, trying to say, oh, well, Einstein confessed God on his deathbed. And, you know, it's just...
They don't even go that far. They just say
People said Stephen Hawking had a deathbed conversion, or his last things had everything. And it's like, you know, I see it, and we need to really push with skepticism. And, Jamie, do you want to... I feel like you're waiting to hop in, so go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. That's just sort of an aspect of... human nature and lacking skepticism entirely. I mean, I would like to be right. I am right. I'm fighting to be right, and let me find something to show that I am right.
Yeah.
It's
confirmation.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think your last caller who believed in Jordan Peterson so much was an example. I'm kidding.
I was like, oh, no, now I have to explain that was a troll.
No.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just try to validate, and unfortunately we see this with a lot of quote mining, because you brought up Stephen Hawking, and he was even mentioned last night, and it was a quote about how, I believe it's like the complexity of the universe, and with what we understand, it seems like only God could do this. Then Hawking, in chapter 8 in his book, A Brief History of Time, which this quote was taken from, goes on to later explain how he thought this till he came up with a model of the universe which excluded the need for a God. And like he's literally outlining, like, here's what we thought, and then here's what I figured out. But people take kind of the here's what we thought and never lead to the rest of it. So you kind of, like you said, people who do their own research stop kind of when they validate their own viewpoint.
Yeah.
And then they kind of spread that viewpoint that is not. It just drives me nuts. Drives me up a wall.
It does, and we need to do better about that. Adam, this is a good point that we need to make for everybody. If you are doing that,
stop it.
Stop it!
Learn to be a skeptic.
Do your fucking research and actually do more than just Google until you find something that looks good and pick that out from among what may be evidence to the contrary of what you're trying to say. Don't try to reinforce your preconception. Look for the truth and follow it. Yeah. Follow the evidence.
Learn what skepticism is and become a skeptic.
What?
Thank you guys so much for your time. I want to reiterate one thing you said, because I think it was so powerful. Just be able to say, like, I was wrong or I don't know. And I wish more people would do that. And thank you guys so much for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Adam.
Thank you.
All right.